When there is evolution everywhere, it is again childish and egocentric to assume that man, of all things, is the highest being which the cosmos has ever produced in the billions and billions of years of its existence on all the myriads of celestial bodies. Nothing but complacency justifies this assumption. On sober scientific judgment, we can rule it out. When there is evolving life everywhere in the boundless universe, we must needs admit there must be innumerable lower and higher forms of existence and of life, lower and higher worlds and living beings than man and the earth. Apart from excessive vanity, there is no reason for the illusion that it is precisely on our planet that the universal evolution has advanced the furthest. Those who think rationally and do not shun their common sense must concede that this is certainly wrong. One should observe oneself, but without making oneself the center of the universe. There are many planets older than the Earth. There, the development will surely be ahead of us. It is impossible to understand how such a separation between the worlds came about, since it is not necessary for evolution, unless people have created a prideful concept of Earth. Thus, people regard the destiny of this planet as the alpha and omega of the entire universe. On the contrary, when you look at the conditions on our planet without bias, at all the injustice, violence, and selfishness, you inevitably come to a different conclusion. Humanity is actually on a fairly low level of development. The universe shudders from the manifestations produced by man. Is that not exaggerated? Our technology has made tremendous progress. Yes, but here exactly is the very proof how right I am. Technical development has further advanced than man himself. We have external material means at our disposal for the application of which we are not yet mature enough inwardly by the spiritual status we have reached. Just think of nuclear energy and what we use it for. Half a century ago, we were already concerned about the excessive increase of physical knowledge. Verily, much has been attained in this direction, but at the same time the spiritual consciousness was lagging behind the physical. Ethics were lost amidst accumulations of formulas. Machines attracted man away from the art of thinking. Now they are content to be robots. We are living in the age of nuclear giants and ethical dwarfs. The universe would be in a bad shape indeed if the earthly humanity of all things were the peak and the role model for all other worlds. According to Agni Yoga, man even lags behind the general development. In actual fact, we have as yet failed to reach the stage that is scheduled for our planet for the present age. In the last half-century, science, despite its speedy growth, has not accomplished a tenth of what was ordained for it. Thus, we ascertain as there exist lower beings than humans, for example plants and animals, there are higher ones as well. Who is it that stands higher on the ladder of hierarchy, and why? Is a human being worth more than an animal? An important question that the confused minds of our time are unable to answer. A soul is greater than another when it reveals the grain of spirit, the divine within it, to a larger extent. That is the proper yardstick, even for measuring the size of people. That does not mean animals are worth less. They are just smaller, like children. They are on the way to man, on which we can and must help them. We had already said, when we look at the many different levels of life and of consciousness on Earth below us humans, the conclusion is compelling that this line of development continues beyond man. Can you say nature has belied herself, broken her law of continuity, when man, as he is now constituted, came into existence, that no higher order of life exists on Earth, and that, therefore, the masters are non-existent? Go even further. Take the races of the Earth, the conditions, intelligence, and attainments of humanity. Is not the gradation as perfect as in all lower forms of life? Is not the probability of the existence of a more highly developed class of human beings than are the people of any class known to you a reasonable proposition? Would they not, by their greater power and ability, naturally function on the astral or etheric plane, as well as on the aerial or material plane of life? On the infinite ladder of evolution, we have not only smaller, but also greater brothers and sisters. Already the Bible mentions in the Genesis visits of higher beings on Earth. When men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves from those who were pleasing to them. And when the sons of God had connection with the daughters of men, they bare children to them. These became the giants on earth. Earth is not the highest planet in our solar system. The high spirits come to our planet from a higher planet, for the acceleration of the evolution of our humanity. On more developed planets, there are more developed forms of life, even in our solar system. It is said that on the higher planets there are fewer animals, and they are far more perfect. Thus there are no insects and beasts of prey on Venus. There exists a veritable kingdom of flights. People fly, birds fly, and even fish. And the birds understand human speech. Is it possible to speak about stock exchange speculations on Jupiter or about brothels on Venus? The concept is simply unthinkable. It is ironically said that on Venus the grass is more intelligent than earthly man. It is clear that creatures who live on Venus at temperatures of around 450 degrees Celsius must be built quite differently than man. More fiery, that is, less physical and more spiritual. Human evolution is regarded as the crown of the universe, but we know that the earthly man is still very crude in his form and tissues when compared with, let us say, the dwellers of Jupiter and Venus. On other far-off worlds, there are still higher beings, so great that we cannot even imagine them, rulers of solar systems, galaxies, and universes. The transition from the lower to the higher levels is fluent. What entity is still a plant, and what already an animal, is not exactly ascertainable. The next higher beings develop from man just as naturally as we have worked our way up step by step from predecessors looking like monkeys. We cannot determine precisely where the old man ends and where the next step of evolution, the immortal man of spirit, begins. Is not that pure theory? Where then is the much invoked new man? This development is in full swing. We can already perceive the new man in his outlines. The first beings of the new evolutionary stage are already living in our midst. It is wrong to think that our solar system is entirely isolated. On the contrary, all the worlds are subtly interrelated. Individuals of much older stages of evolution coexist on Earth with the people of the sixth race. Creatures who embody the divine spirit to a higher degree than the average man are, for example, sons of God, such as Jesus, Buddha, and Moria. Great spiritual leaders and world teachers, such as Moses, Krishna, Zarathustra, Elias, Confucius, Lao Tse, Pythagoras, Plato, Apollonius of Tyana, Saint Paul, Seneca, and Mohammed. The saints, martyrs, and spiritual warriors of all times and cultures, like Saints Francis of Assisi, Benedict, Dominic, Catherine of Siena, Teresa of Avila, Hildegard of Bingen, Gerhard Terstegen, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Milarepa, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, Tolstoy, Don Bosco, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and countless others. There is a natural instinct or tendency toward hero worship in the heart of every normal human being. The soul of man intuitively recognizes that there are beings of a higher order of life than are the men and women of the present race of the earth. Men believe that honor and love are due to those higher beings and expect that man will benefit individually and collectively from their greater knowledge and power. We recognize Jesus, Buddha, and all the other masters whose work on earth still determines our lives today, were nothing else but highly developed beings with higher but entirely natural abilities. This is how the so-called miracles of Christ can be convincingly explained. It is unscientific to believe that above man there is nothing, and contrary to nature to place there only God, since Aristotle, we know, Natura non facit saltus. Nature does not make leaps. A better concept is to recognize intermediary stages, mediators between man and God, as the Middle Ages did with their hierarchy of saints and angels. The recognition of the higher levels is crucial for the proper understanding of evolution, for the scientific identification of the status and the destiny of man in this process, and for a new spirituality that no longer contradicts reason. Let us keep in mind the following first guiding principle, which abolishes our old world view and gives rise to a new, better one. The actual existence of higher beings is the scientific basis of each religion.